Kentucky Congressman James Comer just returned from a 3-day trip to the border, and he joins me now. Congressman, good morning to you. We're looking at live images on our screen of migrants who just arrived to Washington, D.C. from Texas. What do you make of the situation? Governor Abbott actually sending migrants to Washington, D.C. like he said he would.
Good for Governor Abbott. I strongly encourage Governor Ducey in Arizona to do the same. Look, I've been down there for 3 days in California and Arizona. This comes after exactly 1 year ago when I led the Oversight Committee to Texas and New Mexico. And I can tell you, it's only gotten worse. And then when Title 42 goes away, it's only going to get even worse than it is now. And everyone knows it. This is terrible policy. I don't think Joe Biden or Vice President Harris has any idea how bad it is. And they're going to see with all these people invading Washington, D.C., like they've invaded our border states. And it may make them realize how bad it is, because what they're going to see over the coming days in Washington, D.C. is what all the border communities see. And because of Joe Biden's policies on the border over the last year, every state is now a border state. Every state is being flooded with illegals, which is bringing along with it fentanyl, human trafficking, and increased crime.
Yeah, well, the White House is brushing this off. Jen Psaki was asked about this yesterday, and she said that it's good that Governor Abbott is helping these illegal immigrants get to their final destination. And she also talked about how they're in the process of, their immigration proceedings as they await their court hearing. But you just have to wonder, will they be? And if they stay in the country under this administration, is ICE going to be going after them and taking them back to their home country if they don't pass the immigration trial?
No. And remember, 3% of the illegals are actually showing up for their court dates. ICE is overwhelmed. The Border Patrol, their hands are tied. We learned that the Border Patrol is spending the overwhelming majority of their time now doing paperwork, processing the people that are coming across illegally. And once they get through processing them, they're letting them go. So they're just doing busy work while these illegals keep flooding the country. And another thing I learned down there, especially when we were in Yuma, Arizona, just this year, Yuma has apprehended over 160,000 people just this year. Over 150, so 95%, were from countries other than Mexico. We went out on a night ride with the Border Patrol with Brandon Judd, who's on Fox all the time. We had 2 different groups that were apprehended that night. The 2 largest countries represented in those 2 groups were Cuba and Uzbekistan. So this open border policy is an invitation to the world. Now, come to the United States, and the Border Patrol under Joe Biden has become a welcoming committee for these illegals. It's just mind-boggling how bad it is on the border. And when Title 42 goes away, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and, a lot of these people do want to come here for economic reasons. You can't blame them, although they are breaking the law. But then you talk about what you just saw and what you said. And we're also hearing people coming from Iraq, Iran, and Syria. And that's really the big issue here, is that this does present a national security issue.
It is a national security issue. And, liberals will try to compare what's going on now to 100 years ago when immigrants came to the United States. The difference between then and today is today we have a welfare system. So you have what I noticed on the border this time and a year ago when I was there is you have just a large number of children. Those children automatically become on welfare. They get Medicaid, which is free health care. They're going to get free education. They're going to get free housing. They're going to get free food. And, this is a burden on the American taxpayers. That's why the Oversight Committee is all over this. This is a cost to the taxpayers. And this is putting illegals ahead of the line of hardworking, tax-paying Americans. Tax-paying, hardworking Americans, they have to pay for their health care. These illegals do not. They get free health care. They're getting free phones now from President Biden. It is a slap in the face of every hardworking, tax-paying American.
Yeah, Congressman, we were talking to Joe Borelli, who's a councilman in New York, and he was talking about how in the New York City budget, it's tucked away, but it was uncovered that there is money for health care for illegal immigrants above the age 65. So this is exactly what you're talking about. You also mentioned cell phones and the fact that the Biden administration is giving out cell phones to illegal immigrants, which also reminds me of the fact that there are images of illegal immigrants taking selfies when they get to the United States. I'm sure they're happy to be here, but what does that say to you about how concerned they are about being so open about breaking our laws?
I saw the illegals taking selfies when they crossed the border. And this particular group of illegals, they were primarily from Uzbekistan and Cuba, and they had nice clothes. I saw Louis Vuitton bags. I saw very expensive Nike shoes. I saw a lot of nice camera phones that they weren't given by the government. They already had these. These people came across, they were taking selfies, they were posing for Instagram pics. There's no fear of any type of consequences for crossing that border illegally. Remember, they're here illegally. They're breaking the law, and they're taking selfies. The cartel will use these selfies to advertise for more business, because every one of those people that are being apprehended at the border are paying the cartel between $4,000 and $8,000 per person to cross through Mexico. And when all these groups get apprehended at the border, it's a distraction for the Border Patrol. Then the cartel sends their drug packers across the line illegally at different points to bring fentanyl in to the United States. So the drug problem, 100,000 deaths of the last year of fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
This is a direct result of Biden's border crisis, and they continue to turn a blind eye. They continue to encourage it, and every American should be outraged over this.
And you know, Congressman, yesterday the Biden administration extended the federal mask mandate on planes because they said that COVID is still a real and present danger, and yet they are still moving to lift Title 42 at the border because apparently COVID isn't a concern down there. What do you make of that?
It's just hypocrisy. I didn't see any of the illegals wearing a mask when they came to the United States. I was in the detention facility in San Diego and the one in Yuma, and I didn't see anyone wearing masks in there, any of the illegals wearing masks. But yet they lift Title 42, which is the one tool in the toolbox that this administration had left to ship people back to the country where they came. Over half of the successful deportations that occurred in the United States came because of Title 42. Now you're giving that away. At the same time, you're continuing to extend mask mandates in the United States. So everybody in the airport, and I landed in Chicago, and in Phoenix, and San Diego, and of course Louisville, Kentucky. Every single person in the airport's wearing a mask, but yet these illegals, to the tune of over 2 million, are crossing over the border, going in the detention facilities, then being spread out all across America. They're not wearing masks. Yeah. They've not been vaccinated.
And you know, Congressman, I'm just looking at the screen right now at the immigrants that just got off this bus. Obviously, the second migrant bus arrived in Washington from Texas, and I'm looking at the faces, and it's a lot of what looks like single young men. We were told that it would be family units that would be allowed to come into the country and stay, not single men. So what do you make of the fact that this is the demographic that we're seeing coming into the country and being allowed to stay here?
Look, everything the administration says when they defend their open border policy is not true. It is fiction. The people coming across the border, you're right, many are here for the right reasons. They're trying to find a better opportunity. But many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are drug dealers. Many of these people are human trafficking. Nothing good is happening on the border. And, you know, everywhere where there's major crossings that we saw in California and Arizona, and same thing in New Mexico, was where the wall ended, Why can't we finish the border wall? The border wall works. It deters. It buys time for the Border Patrol. And the people that are coming across this border, they're bringing drugs and human trafficking, and nothing is good. Nothing good's happening. We should implement the military down there. We should go back to Trump's return to Mexico policy. And for goodness sakes, we should keep Title 42.
Yeah, there are solutions to this issue, but unfortunately the administration doesn't seem to have the political will to want to go there. Congressman Comer, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your experience at the border. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.